Dear students, today I am going to discuss the most important and fundamental chapter for plus one level CBSE as well as other courses in various states, that is basic concept of chemistry. What are the topics that I am going to cover in the basic concept of chemistry? Number one, importance of chemistry. What way chemistry is important? Number two, matter and its classification. What way we can classify the matter physically and chemically. Number three, laws of chemical combination. Number four, atoms, molecules, mole concept, including atomic mass, molecular mass, equivalent mass. Then, I am going to discuss again determination of empirical formula and molecular formula under this topic. The next one, the most important among them all, the concentration terms normally we are using in chemistry, like percentage, mole fraction, molarity, normality, etc. And finally, the most important, that is properties of matter and measurement, I will discuss. So let me start now. First, let me discuss importance of chemistry. What is chemistry? This I have discussed already. Chemistry is the branch of science which investigates the chemical composition and structure of matter in the universe. So in the universe, any object having a characteristic composition, and if you know the structure of matter, then we will say it is chemistry. So for example, you take water. In water, I can represent by the formula H2O. So the composition here it is, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen is present in the form of 2:1 ratio. That is chemical composition. What is structure? Shape of the water molecule. That is, water is V shape. This we can easily come under the chemical bonding. A chapter is there. We will discuss there. So, this is the chemistry. Now first, let me discuss the importance of chemistry. This is why chemistry is important in our life. So, chemistry plays an important role in daily life. Let me discuss one by one. So, it plays a role as food first. Number one. So, daily we are taking milk, fruits, rice, salt, even glucose, sucrose, everything, nothing but chemistry. As chemical in industry, all acids, mineral acids, bases, salts, and organic compound that we are preparing in the laboratory, nothing but chemistry. As medicine in life, that is aspirin, paracetamol, cisplatin, Texal, and acidothymidine, other name is AST, old name is Sidomil. So, the next. Chemistry again plays a role in that is the materials for magnetic, electrical and optical properties. Specific example, copper, aluminum and iron metals are often used here. And it is also used as a safer refrigerants. CFCs, that is chlorofluoro derivatives of carbon. Chlorofluorocarbons normally will used. And what are the chemicals present in our body also we must know. So let me discuss one by one. First, chemistry in our food. What are the in food we are taking the chemistry? Milk is nothing but lactic acid. Kindly follow. Milk, nothing but lactic acid is present because we are giving milk to the babies. It is containing lactic acid. Lactic acid, nothing but the 2-hydroxypropanoic acid. And coming for fruits, citrus fruits, all citrus fruits containing citric acid. Then tamarind, in tamarind daily we are using in the laboratory, in the house, tartaric acid is present. And rice we are using daily, nothing but starch is there. And we are taking chicken and mutton, nothing, mainly protein and minerals, all are present in this. So, next let me go for chemistry in industry. What way? So, in hospitals, we need oxygen for the patient during operations. So, that we are preparing in the laboratory. For welding purposes, acetylene we are using. Then conversion of oils into solid form, that is hydrogenation of oil using nickel. And fat, nothing but glycerol and soap purposes preparation, we are using fat. So finally metals, iron, copper, etc. So let me come back. Chemistry in medicine. What are the important the chemicals used in medicine? So one is aspirin. Kindly follow. One is aspirin. To protect heart attack, it is commonly used. It is a painkiller also. It is also used as a painkiller. Another commonly used we are paracetamol. That is to control fever. Then the very important chemical, cisplatin, that is used for cancer. Then lastly, azithromycin, the symbol AST, it is used for to cure AIDS. These are all chemistry in medicine. So let me give the structure. It's an interesting point, let me give. So aspirin is nothing but acetyl salicylic acid. This is nothing but acetyl salicylic acid. Acetyl salicylic acid. Okay. Next. Paracetamol. What is paracetamol to control fever? This is nothing but N-acetyl aminophenol. N-acetyl aminophenol, that is called paracetamol. The third one, cisplatin, to cure cancer. This is a platinum salt. Kindly follow, it's a complex. This is a ligand, 4 ligand, 2 ammonia ligands and 2 chlorine ligands attached to central platinum. It's called cisplatin. Then azithromycin, symbol AST, curing AIDS. It's an heterocyclic compound along with a sugar. So this is the most important medicine. Then another chemistry, sulfur refrigerants. So this is the fluoro derivatives of carbon. Normally chloro-fluoro derivatives is used, even sometimes fluorine derivatives can be used. Coming for chemicals in human life. That is, in life, fat, it is present in our body. Cholesterol, it is already synthesized in our body. Proteins, polypeptide, peptide, amino acid, everything in our body. All made of the salts, calcium, bone made of calcium, and 65% of water in our body. Water, again chemical H2O. So these are the important information. So let me discuss one or two. What is fat? Why I am giving this information? Even many doctors, they do not know the difference between the fat and cholesterol. Normally they will say in Tamil, Kolpu. Kolpu means the substance that will give problem, and they will, by settling through the veins, it will give heart attack. But we should be carefully used in chemistry point of view. Fat means it's a dry esters of glycerol. Dry esters of glycerol. The R dash, R2 dash, kindly follow, they are 3 different long fatty acids. oleic acid, palmitic acid, stearic acid, containing 20 to 30 carbon atoms. So in these 20 to 30 carbon atom, if there is any double bond, it will be in the form of oil. If it is saturated, it will be in the form of solid form. It is called fat. And if you boil with the sodium hydroxide, it's called saponification, you will get glycerol and soap. Soap is nothing but sodium salt of higher fatty acids. So this is important. Second one. This is the structure of cholesterol. Kindly follow, my dear students. So don't confuse with the cholesterol with the fat. Fat is the esters of glycerol. Cholesterol is a steroid containing 27 carbon atom. Kindly follow. So this is actually synthesized from the starting from acetic acid. So very, very important information. So these are the most important chemicals that are involved in our life. So this is regarding for importance of chemistry I want to discuss. Matter and its classification is the most important chapter, not only for +1 level, but also 8th or 9th or 10th, even BSc or MSc. This is the most important chapter, must understand. So let me discuss, this is the first class, let me discuss matter and the classification in detail. What is universe? A system and its surroundings are called universe. What is a system? Any object under investigation is called system. So if I want to study about this pen or pencil, then this object is called the system. Except this system, all the remaining things in the universe is called surroundings. So let me define once again. A system and its surroundings are called universe. Both the system and surroundings are characterized by both energy and matter. The same way for surrounding also, energy and matter. We know there are different forms of energy: heat energy, chemical energy, electrical energy, etc., etc. But we are not concentrating here energy. So let me concentrate on matter. So let me go for concentrate on matter. So before entering into this, let me define a system. How many types of systems are there? Because this is, you must understand to understand the concept of matter and its classifications. There are 3 types of system. One is open system, 2 closed system, and 3 isolated system. What is open system? Open system is one from which both mass and energy will be transferred from system to surroundings and vice versa. That is, from system to surroundings. That is called open system. A specific example, a cup of hot tea placed on a table. If you are able to measure mass and the energy, in this case temperature, then you can observe after some time there will be loss. This is a specific example of open system. A closed system is one from which energy but not mass will be transferred from system to surroundings and vice versa. Same specific example, a cup of hot tea in a closed vessel. Since we are closing, the vessel is closed, the water vapor is not allowed to escape into the atmosphere. So it's an example of closed system. Finally, isolated system. An isolated system is one from which neither mass nor energy will be transferred from system to surrounding and vice versa. Since the system is closed and thermally insulated, Now, that is, we will call it as isolated system. Both energy and mass will not be transferred from the system to the surroundings. Okay, let me go for the next. So let me concentrate now matter and its classification. So far what I have given is only an introduction to understand what is chemistry. Okay, what is a matter? I have already defined. Matter can be defined as an object or a system having a characteristic mass, a characteristic energy, and it occupies a specific characteristic space in the universe is called matter. So any object having characteristic mass and energy and characteristic space in the universe is called matter. This is the definition. Okay. Matter I can classify by two ways. One is by physically I can classify based on physical property. Chemically I can classify based on chemical properties. So let me concentrate first. Physical classification based on physical property. Now, first before entering into the classification, let me ask, what is physical property? A physical property is one. During measurement of the particular object or system, the chemical composition will not change. So any matter during measurement, that is, the property is not changing, the chemical composition, we will call it as physical property. Specific example, melting point, a specific example for physical property for solid. Boiling point, a specific example, that is a physical property for liquid. So density, another example. So this is physical property. So based on this physical property, I can classify matter by 5 ways. Probably in a higher level, only the 3 will be given. That is, solids, liquids and gases are given. But 2 more, that is plasma and Bose-Einstein are not given in the book, in olden books and even now in the higher secondary. So let me concentrate. So physically, I can classify matter into 5 types. 1. Solids. 2. Liquids. 3. Gases. 4. Plasma. And 5. Bose-Einstein condensate. Let me explain. Solids, you know already. Liquids, you know already. Gases, you know already. You can ask, what is plasma? What is Bose-Einstein condensate? Plasma is nothing but a superheated gases. On heating, gases undergo ionization. So it will behave a different way from solid, liquid and gases. So this matter is called plasma. A specific example you are hearing about nowadays, plasma TV. The next comes Bose-Einstein condensate is the 5th matter. What is Bose-Einstein condensate? Bose-Einstein condensate is a state of matter which is typically formed when a gas of bosons at low density is cooled to temperature very close to absolute temperature. So this is called Bose-Einstein condensate. So we have solids, liquids, gases, plasma and Bose-Einstein condensate. Among this, solids, liquids and gases are common, we are seeing regularly in the universe. Okay, the same way I can classify matter that is based on chemical property. So I can classify chemically also based on chemical property. What is a chemical property? A chemical property is one. During measurement, a chemical property is one. During measurement, automatically the chemical composition of the matter will change. A specific example, let me give an example. Oxidation is the most important chemical property. Oxidation. And same way, reduction, hydrolysis. These are the specific examples. So here I want to indicate a specific example. That is the oxidation of iron. We simply call it as the what we get. Specific example, you can, whenever a building is constructed, you can see outside the iron will be there. When it was placed, it will be a dark color. But after some time, you can see that the color is changing to slightly reddish in color. That is because originally it was iron. The chemical composition is Fe. Undergoes air oxidation, converted into Fe2O3. So this is the specific example of oxidation for a matter. So iron can be oxidized to iron oxide Fe2O3. This is the chemical property, oxidation. Same way reduction and hydrolysis. Okay, let me go for classification. So based on this chemical property, that is the chemical property, matter can be classified into two types. One is substances, another is mixtures. So substances undergo physical changes to produce mixture. Then we have to raise, you can raise a question. What is substances? So you said matter, then you are saying introducing the suddenly substances. So substances are nothing but matter, which can be elements or compounds. So substances are nothing but matter, which can be elements or compounds. Whenever you say substance is nothing but indicating pure. Okay. Now what is the difference? Elements and compounds. So we are going to discuss in detail later. So let me explain here as only one point that I will go. Elements are nothing but containing only one type of atoms, whereas compound means more than one type of atoms. So elements undergo chemical combination to produce compounds, obeying laws of chemical combination. The laws of chemical combination I will be discussing as a second chapter. So you can ask, what are the laws of chemical combination? Number one, law of conservation of mass. Number two, law of definite proportion. Number three, law of multiple proportion. Number four, law of reciprocal proportion. And five, law of gaseous volume. So these are the different 5 laws I will be discussing in the next chapter. Okay, elements further can be classified into atoms and molecules. So I can call it as atomic elements or molecular elements. Atomic element specific example, helium. And molecular element specific example, hydrogen. So this is a specific example. So let me go for the next. So in this case I have already pointed out there's a difference between physical and chemical properties. So here when we are doing some process, that we will call it as the process called the physical change or physical process, chemical change or chemical process. Okay. So how to differentiate these two processes? There are 3 ways we can classify, we can differentiate physical change and chemical change. So first is based on nature we can classify. Physical change, it is reversible. So if you want to understand this, take a solid ice and just melt it. On melting, the solid ice will be converted into liquid water. So from a solid state to liquid state, it is changing. But if you freeze the liquid water will again get back over solid ice. So this is a reversible process. So melting is a physical change, and then freezing is a physical change for that specific example. Whereas just now I have explained to you oxidation. Iron converted into iron oxide, it is a chemical change which is irreversible. So based on nature of the process, physical change is a reversible process, whereas chemical change is an irreversible process. Okay. The second important point, product formation. In all ways in a physical change, no new product is formed. Again, you take a specific example of water. Solid ice on melting into liquid water. Again, liquid water, if you just vaporize, you get water vapor. So in all the cases, water is there. No new product is formed. But if you go for again oxidation of iron, iron is the starting material, Fe. but on oxidation converted into Fe2O3. So it is a new product, Fe2O3, ferric oxide is formed. So, product formation, physical change, there is no new product is formed. In chemical change, here oxidation, a new product is formed. Finally, based on chemical composition also, I can classify. Just now. So in this case, in the case of physical change, the chemical composition remains same. Just now I pointed out. In all the cases, water, solid ice, water, liquid water, gaseous water. So formula is H2O. It remains same. Chemical composition of water H2O is remains same. Whereas in the case of chemical change oxidation, the chemical composition changes. So this is the way we can able to differentiate. Next, let me go for effect of temperature on water. This is I have already pointed out. So let me go firstly. Solid ice having the composition H2O, on melting converted into liquid water, again composition H2O, on boiling again getting converted into water vapor, again composition is H2O. Right. So after getting vapor, so if I am able to condense this vapor but without allowing to escape, this is condensation. So we'll get back liquid water. The liquid water again on cooling, we'll call it as freezing. Again, you will get solid ice. So this is the effect of temperature regarding water. So let me go for the next one. So chemical classification, that is, we have discussed, that is, matter can be classified into substances and mixtures, and the substances we can classify into elements and compounds. So I am going to concentrate now, there are three different, that is, one is elements, another is compound, another is mixture. Let me concentrate. So here first let me take elements. What is an element? A number of scientists that is given different statement. The most important statement is given by Boyle's statement. So let me read this. An element is a pure substance. Whenever you say element, it's a pure substance that cannot be split into anything simple by physical or chemical method. An element is a pure substance that cannot be split into anything simple by physical or chemical methods. Okay, there's another statement by Lavoisier. Lavoisier's statement is, an element is the basic form of matter. It is the basic form that cannot be broken into simple substance. This is Lavoisier's statement. So many people are giving so many ways. So what we are following in the modern theory? What is the modern theory says? An element is made up of same kind of atom. Very, very simple. Whenever you say element, so it is made up of same kind of atoms. Okay, let me concentrate. So whenever you say element means, immediately the next question analysis. Elements present in the earth crust. So this is given even in the 8th book it is given. Okay, kindly listen me. So I am going to consider only 3 points here because competitively question can be asked. One is, so in this earth crust, so elements are oxygen 46.6%, silicon 27.7%, aluminium 8.1%, iron 5%, calcium 3.36%. On the remaining all other elements 9%, totally 100%. Okay, so the most abundant element in the earth crust is oxygen. This is the first important point I want to specify. The second most important, that is element, most abundant element is silicon. Third is aluminium. Let me stop here. So I will give 3 information. One is the most abundant element in the earth crust is oxygen. This you have to keep it in mind. Second, silicon. Okay. The first most abundant metal in the earth crust, aluminium. So iron is the only second metal, most abundant metal. So this is the points you have to remember under this. Okay, let me go for the next. So we have discussed element present in the earth crust. So what about the next question? Element present in the universe and stuff. What are the element present there? So there are 2 elements present. One is hydrogen, another is helium present in the universe and stars. Let me go for the next. So what are the elements present in our body? That is the most important. Next question. Again, the elements present in our bodies are oxygen 65%, carbon 18%, hydrogen 10%, nitrogen 3%, calcium 2%, all the remaining elements 2%, totally 100%. So as usual, the most abundant element in our body is oxygen. In both cases, oxygen number 1. The second most, carbon. So among the that is metals, the most abundant metal is calcium. So this is the information I want to record here. So first element oxygen, second element carbon. The first metallic element is calcium. It is the most abundant in our body. Okay, next. So I am going to now classify elements based on state problem. What is state? Just now I have discussed solid state, liquid state, gaseous state. Two more states also I have given. One is plasma and bosons and condensate. Okay. So when that is how many elements are known so far? Totally 118 elements. 118 elements are known so far. Out of these 118 elements, for 112 elements, IUPAC names were given. So remaining 6 elements, still IUPAC names are not given. So out of 118 elements known, only 92 elements are commonly occurring in nature. All the remaining are man-made. So commonly occurring elements are 92. So let me concentrate only on these commonly occurring elements 92. So I can classify these elements by 3 ways. One is solids, another is liquids, and third is gases. So out of 92, 79 elements are solid. Here I have given example 1 or 2, iron, sulfur, iodine. Coming for liquids, there are only 2 liquids. One is mercury, another is bromine. Bromine comes under the halogen family. So 2 liquids, kindly have it in mind. Question can be asked under this. And gases, there are 11 gases. Here I have given helium, hydrogen, oxygen. So the gases, actually, you can kindly keep it in your mind. Let me give you now what is the way you have to remember. Coming for the inert gas, the last group, 0 group, we'll call it as helium. That is helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and radon. So totally 6 gases. Then additional to this, there are 5 more. Hydrogen, this is for your information to keep in your memory. Hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and chlorine. So 5 more. Totally 11 gases. So students, kindly have it in mind. You can remember even in memory. Helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and radon inert gases, 0 group. And the remaining hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and chlorine are again gases, totally 11 gases. So here I have given specific example is helium, hydrogen, oxygen gas. Okay, let me go for the next one. So the elements, so when I have discussed solids, liquid, and gases, next question automatically arises, how to differentiate? What are the differences between solids, liquid, and gases? So let me discuss, because question can be asked, competitive question can be asked based on this. So I can classify the solids and liquid based on the number of properties. First, let me take now shape and volume. Solids have a definite shape and definite volume. Suppose you look at this. This is a pencil. I'm using for just writing on the board. This is a pencil having a definite shape and definite volume. Whereas when you take a liquid, the volume will be definite, but shape will not be. There is no definite shape, but definite volume. So specifically, if you want to see this, you take an ml of water in a measuring jar, the shape will be different, it's cylindrical. The same ml of water you can transfer in a beaker, the shape will change. The same ml, you change into a bigger beaker, the shape will change. So no definite shape, but definite volume. Volume will not change. Coming for gases, so gases have no definite shape and no definite volume. Volume can be changed, Shape also can be changed. Depending upon the shape of the container, the gases changes shape, changes volume. The second most important property I can classify, that is flow, rate of flow. What is based on rate of flow, I can classify solids, liquid and gases. Suppose if I am placing this pencil on a table, wherever I place it will be there. It cannot flow. Whereas liquids, if I flow on a table, on a glass, it can flow from higher to lower. When the level is increased, it will not stay there. Automatically, from higher to lower level, it will move. It's a liquid character. When you go for gases, we cannot control it. It will flow easily in all directions. So, solids cannot flow. Liquids can flow from higher to lower level, whereas gases can flow easily. Let me go for the next. Intermolecular space. This is the another most important property I can differentiate. Intermolecular spaces. In solids, the atoms or molecules or ions are very, very, very close. So space is minimum. When you go for liquids, the space is slightly moderate, slightly greater than solid. When you go for gases of the liquid, this one, it is far away from each one, molecules or anything. It is far away. So maximum intermolecular space. The fourth important property, intermolecular force. This is actually force depends upon the intermolecular space. So the space is minimum, force is maximum, vice versa. Okay, let me go forward. Intermolecular force is maximum in the case of solid. It is moderate or less in the case of liquids, almost minimum or negligible in the case of gases. The last but not the least, compressibility, another most important property we can use to classify solids, liquids and gases. Solids are incompressible in nature. If you compress, it will break. Whereas liquids are compressible to an extent. Gases we can compress easily. So this is the way I can compare the properties of solids and liquids by the characteristic properties. So let me go for the next. I have classified the element based on the state. Now here I can classify element based on the property. We know already based on property, physical property, chemical properties. So based on the properties, I can classify the element based on into three ways. One is metals, two metalloids, and three non-metals. As I have already pointed out, there are 92 elements occur in nature. Among these 92, 70 metals, 70 are metals, 6 metalloids, and 16 non-metals. Among the non-metal, I have already pointed out 11 gases, the remaining 5, that is liquid and solids. Okay, among the metal, here I have indicated just 2, magnesium ion. Among the metalloids, I have given 2, one is boron and silicon. Among the non-metal, I have given 3 examples, helium, bromine and liquid. Okay, let me go for the next. Characteristic properties of metals. What are the characteristic properties of metal? Metals are hard. Very, very hard. That's the characteristic properties of metals. Hard, we cannot cut by ordinary ways. Metals are lustrous, meaning shining. If you cut the metals with the hard metals, then automatically it will shine. Third important property, malleable. Metals are malleable. That is, metals can be converted into thin sheet. You have come across, we have in our house, the room can be, that is again separated by thin iron sheet or aluminum sheet, we can. That is nothing but metal. Metals are ductile. What is ductile? Can be converted into wire. In electricity, we are using copper wire, aluminum wire, etc. So that is nothing but metals. So metals are ductile in nature. Another important property, sonorous. Metals are sonorous, that is producing sound. If you hit a metal by another metal, we will hear the sound, that is sonorous. So metals are generally sonorous. The most important property, metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. heat and electricity. Here, we know on metals, valency electrons are there. That valency electrons are responsible for conducting electricity. So this we will be discussing under the electrochemistry. Okay, these are the properties. Hard, metals are hard, metals are lustrous, metals are malleable, metals are ductile, metals are sonorous, metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. So let me go for the next. Non-metals, characteristic properties of non-metals. Just opposite to the whatever we have discussed under the metals. So non-metals are soft. Non-metals are soft. Non-metals are non-lustrous, that is no shining. Non-metals are non-malleable, that is cannot be converted into sheet, not possible. Non-metals are non-conductor, we cannot convert into wire. Non-metals are non-sonorous, they will not produce sound. Non-metals are bad conductors of heat and electricity. So these are the properties of non-metals, just opposite to metals. There is one more, that is metalloids. What are the characteristic properties of metalloids? So metalloids are semi-metals. Kindly look at this. Metalloids are semi-metals and they show properties of metals as well as non-metals. So specific example here we can now think of 6 metalloids: boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony and tellurium. Let me repeat again. Boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony and tellurium. These are the 6 metalloids. So having properties of both metal as well as non-metal, so we are calling it as semi-metals. Okay, let me go for the next. So far I have concentrated on what are elements, what are the way I can classify the element I have described. Based on the property I have the state I can classify, based on the property I have classified. Then next let me concentrate on a compound. Again, these are all you have studied already under the 8th standard and the 9th standard you have studied. What is a compound? A compound is a homogeneous substance. Homogeneous substance. We have discussed already, substance may be element or compound, so this is a compound. A compound is a homogeneous substance formed by chemical combination of 2 or more different elements in a fixed ratio by weight, obeying the laws of chemical combination. Just a few minutes before I was discussing 5 laws. So let me repeat again. A compound is a homogeneous substance formed by chemical combination of 2 or more different elements in a fixed ratio by weight, obeying the laws of chemical combination. This is compound. Okay, here I have given 3 examples. One is sodium chloride, a solid compound, water, H2O, a liquid compound, and carbon dioxide, a gaseous compound. So 3 examples here I have indicated. So what is the compound? Okay, let me go for the next. So let me discuss here what are the characteristics of a compound. We know compound means minimum 2 different elements will be, 2 different atoms will be there. So let me concentrate what are the characteristics of a compound. Kindly have it in mind. Question can be asked under this because they will give like this. One among the following characteristics, not the characteristic of compound. One among the following properties is the characteristic of compound. Like this question can be asked. Number 1. Compounds are formed by chemical combination of 2 or more elements in a fixed ratio by weight, obeying the laws of chemical combination. This is the first basic characteristic. Always a compound is formed by combination of 2 or more elements obeying the laws of chemical combination. Okay, that's the first characteristic. Number 2. Generally, compounds are formed with the evolution or absorption of heat. This is the most important property. That is characteristic. What is that? Whenever a product is formed, a compound is formed from the elements, either energy will be absorbed or energy will be released. Okay, let me ask. So how to define this? The energy is released, it will indicate in the reaction delta H equal to negative. If the energy will be absorbed in the reaction, it will be indicated delta H will be positive. So positive and negative can be indicated. So delta H equal to negative exothermic, delta H equal to positive endothermic. So we can classify whenever any compound is formed, it will be formed with either absorption of heat or evaluation or release of heat. This is the second important characteristic. And third is, compounds are always homogeneous. Compounds are always homogeneous. What will be homogeneous, heterogeneous? Homogeneous means we cannot be able to differentiate a space. PHAS, the phase. Compounds are always homogeneous. Next one. The fourth important characteristic of compounds, compounds are generally or have generally sharp melting and boiling. So if it is a compound, it will have a characteristic melting point if it is a solid, boiling point if it is a liquid. It's a characteristic. Sharp melting and sharp boiling. So if you melt any solid, suppose let us assume the melting point is 80 degrees centigrade, a solid. So up to 79, it will be in the solid form. When it reaching 80, it will suddenly converted into liquid form with a sharp melting. But suppose if it is not a compound, if it is a mixture, so the melting started even it is 20 or 30 or 40, it is continuously going partially liquid, partially solid. So it will not be sharp. The same way, boiling point also. So the water boiling point, we know it is 100 degree. So when you boil, so at 100 up to 99, it will be in the liquid form. That is, immediately after reaching 100, everything will be converted into vapor form. So this is the characteristic. Okay, next one. The components of the compounds cannot be separated by simple physical and chemical method. This is another characteristic. The components of the compound cannot be separated by simple physical and chemical methods. A simplest example, let me take now hydrogen elements combined with oxygen elements to produce water. You take this example. So in this case, 2 moles of H2, 1 mole of O2 combined to produce 2 mole of H2O. H2O, water, is a liquid compound. O2 is a gas. H2 is a gas. They both are elements. So components are H2 gas, O2 gas, but the product compound is a liquid. So components of the compound cannot be separated by simple physical and chemical methods. If you take water, by simple heating or decomposition, whatever method, simple method, we cannot convert it into H2 and O2 unless otherwise a specific method we have to use. Ordinary way we cannot decompose water into its component H2 and O2. Finally, the compound do not exhibit the properties of component elements. Just now I have explained you the same example you can explain here. That is, H2O is a compound, and if you take this H2O and if the components are H2 and O2 are elements, but they are in gaseous form, but the H2O is a liquid form. So H2O2 gases properties are different, whereas H2O is a compound, a liquid is the property. So the properties of the components do not same as the property of the compound. That is the most important. Let me repeat again. Compounds do not exhibit the properties of the component elements. So you can give a number of examples like this. Say for example, another example, if you say calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide gives calcium carbonate. Calcium oxide a solid compound, carbon dioxide is a gaseous compound, calcium carbonate again a solid compound. So if you just see that, the same thing we can. Next. So compounds, based on the properties, I can classify into 2 types. One is inorganic compounds, another is organic compounds. So here just I want to specify, kindly listen me carefully. That is, whenever chemistry, we can classify chemistry into 3. One is inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry and physical chemistry. So the compound here, whatever compound that we are studying in organic chemistry, whatever compound you are studying under the organic chemistry, that properties, regarding that properties, we are keeping under the physical chemistry. Okay, let me come forward. Important compound that I have kept here, that is given a specific example. Sodium chloride is an inorganic compound. We know the formula NaCl. Water is a liquid compound. Formula we know again H2O. Carbon dioxide is a gaseous inorganic compound. Formula we know CO2. So sodium chloride solid compound inorganic. H2O liquid compound inorganic. And CO2 again gaseous compound carbon dioxide, that is carbon dioxide. Coming to the other side, organic. So solid, sucrose a solid compound, camphor that is a solid compound. Sucrose, you know the formula, that is C12 H22 O11. This is the molecular formula for sucrose. Actually sucrose nothing, you will be studying in our plus 2 level. Sucrose nothing but consists of 2 units, one is glucose, another is fructose, 2 units. Okay, that is sucrose, solid, example. Coming for the other two, petrol and alcohol, the liquid compounds. Here just I want to specify one important information. Alcohol, when you say specifically, it indicates only one compound, ethyl alcohol. Whereas petrol means normally we are getting is a mixture of liquids. And the specific example is the isooctane, it is the specific example of petrol. Coming for the gases, methane and ethane is a specific example. You know the formula methane, CH4. Methane. Ethane, you know, CH3, ethane. These are all organic compounds. Okay, let me go over the next. So here, I can go little fastly. How to difference, that what are the main differences between organic and inorganic compound? Again, question can. This is the most fundamental. We must know, whenever we want to study organic chemistry, we must know how to differentiate a compound, whether it is an organic or inorganic compound. That is, kindly see here, number 1. Properties, elements. So mainly in the case of organic, carbon usually, hydrogen, oxygen and oxygen, mainly carbon, usually hydrogen, oxygen and rarely other elements will combine to form organic. In the case of inorganic compounds, any 2 or more different elements from the periodic table. From the periodic table, you take any 2 and you allow to combine to form a compound. That's an example of element. Whereas in the case of organic, without carbon there is no organic, but hydrogen, oxygen is usual, rarely other element. This is number 1, elements regarding. Coming for the bonding, this is the most important property. Generally, organic means covalent bond is present, whereas generally here ionic bond is present. The case of inorganic. Third, physical properties like melting and boiling. Melting in the case of solid, boiling in the case of liquid. Generally, organic compound will have low melting points and low boiling points. Whereas in the case of inorganic compound, generally have high melting points and high boiling points. Okay, let me go to the next property. This you have studied already in your 10th, that's why I am going there. Solubility in water. So solubility is the 4th property. Generally, organic compounds insoluble except lower. Lower numbers are soluble in water, but higher numbers before any type it is insoluble. Whereas generally inorganic compounds are generally soluble in water. And if you take organic solvents like alcohol, acetic acid, etc., generally organic compounds are generally soluble, whereas inorganic compounds are generally insoluble in organic solvents. The most important property, combustibility. Combustibility generally highly volatile and combustible in nature. That is, organic compounds are highly combustible in nature, whereas inorganic compounds are non-volatile and non-combustible in nature. The next important property, conductivity. Generally, organic compounds are bad conductors of heat and electricity because they are all molecules, so bad conductors. Whereas inorganic compounds are good conductors of heat and electricity because they are ionic in nature. Okay, let me go for the next one. Reactivity. Generally, reactions are slow in the case of organic when compared to inorganic, whereas generally reactions are fast due to ionic in the case of inorganic. Now, catenation. This is the most important property that we are studying in organic chemistry. Generally, catenation is possible in the case of organic compound. Generally, catenation is not possible in the case of inorganic compounds. What is the catenation? Catenation is the process by which more number of atoms combine to form a larger chain. Correct? It's a chain, it's a linear or branching chain, macro. A specific example, we can say alkanes. That is starting from methane, ethane, propane, pentane. It's going on long. That is called catenation. Coming for the homologous series. Generally, homologous series possible in the case of organic compounds, not possible in the case of inorganic compounds. What is homologous series? Each member in a family, alkane or alkene or alkyne or alkyl, in organic chemistry you are going to study, you have studied already in 10. They differ by CS2. And also, the general method of preparation, general properties will be gradual. That is called homologous series. Coming for isomerism. Generally, isomerism is possible in the case of organic compound, whereas in the case of inorganic compounds, generally not possible. Then, polymerization, another important property. Generally, polymerization is possible in the case of organic compound, generally not possible. The specific example I want to give here, ethylene on polymerization gives polyethylene. Vinyl chloride on polymerization gives PVC, polyvinyl chloride tube. We are preparing that. Whereas inorganic, it is not possible. So next let me go for the concentration of classification. As I have discussed already in the case of elements, compounds also I can classify based on state. So 3, solids, liquids and gases. I can classify any compound based on state. So solid, sodium chloride is an inorganic. Sucrose is again solid, is an organic compound. So both are solid. I am giving one example in each. Coming for liquids, water is an example, alcohol is another example. Coming under the liquids, compound. Water, H2O, alcohol, we know ethyl alcohol. Generally, we will call it as alcohol. CH3, CH2OH, that is alcohol. So, water is an inorganic liquid, alcohol, that is organic liquid. Coming for gases, two different gases. Carbon dioxide, gas, inorganic, methane, that is organic, CH4. So, this is, I can give an example of classification based on state. Now, coming for the mixture, let me concentrate on mixture. That is, 2 or more substances undergo physical changes to produce a mixture. So I can get a mixture by mixing two or more substances, pure substances. It may be elements, it may be compounds, it may be solid, it may be liquid, anything. By mixing 2 or more substances, pure substances which will undergo physical change to produce mixture. A specific example, alloy and air. Alloy, we know that a combination of 2 metals will form an alloy. And air, we know, is a mixture of many gases. So let me concentrate the mixture. A specific example I want to give, air, composition of air. Question can be asked competitively. Because whenever you say air, which is the main component? Kindly remember, nitrogen is the most abundant gas, that is air, that is gas in the air. 75.5%. Oxygen, 23.20%. Argon, 1%. And almost negligible, 0.04% carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide, and neon and helium is almost negligible. So this is the example of air. So let me go for, just I have discussed characteristic of element, characteristics of compound. So let me discuss what are the characteristics of mixture also. Okay, a mixture is formed by mixing 2 substances, elements or compound, and no new product formed. This we have already come across. No new product is formed. Simple by mixing. Mixtures have no sharp melting and boiling. Compared to compound, sharp melting. Mixture exhibit the properties of its component elements. Whereas we know the components of compounds, they will not exhibit. The fourth one. Mixtures are either homogeneous or heterogeneous. This is the most important information. When you mix 2 substances, it may be homogeneous or it may be heterogeneous. The specific example I want to give here, you take water and alcohol, it will produce a homogeneous. Same, you take carbon tetrahydrochloride and water, it will be heterogeneous. The specific example mixture. The last one, the components of the Mixture can be separated by physical methods. The components of the mixture cannot be separated by physical methods. Okay, let me go for the next. Classification of mixture based on phase. So mixture can be classified by two ways. One is based on the homogeneous mixture, or we can call it as heterogeneous mixture. Under the homogeneous mixture, example, alloys, metals, water and alcohol, homogeneous example mixture, air, homogeneous mixture. Coming under the heterogeneous mixture, if I mix sucrose and benzoic acid, will mix, but it is an heterogeneous. Another example, just now I have pointed out, carbon tetrachloride and water. If you add 10 ml of water and 10 ml of carbon tetrachloride in a measuring jar, you will get a two layer. Carbon tetrachloride, higher density will be a lower, water will be higher. So you can see the different phases. It is heterogeneous. Now, homogeneous mixture, let me give some information. Solid mixture, just now I pointed out, alloys, a specific example. Liquid mixture, it is homogeneous. You take water and alcohol. Take 10 ml of water in a beaker, 10 ml of alcohol in again beaker, and add mix to that together, you get a single layer. Or even if you want to take a measuring jar, take 10 ml of water to the same measuring jar, add 10 ml of alcohol, you get only one layer. It is homogeneous. Gas mixture, just now we discussed. Yeah. Solid liquid mixture, you can just remember, take 1 gram of sodium chloride and common salt and dissolve in water. You cannot see the solid sodium chloride after that. It is a solid liquid mixture, homogeneous. Liquid gas mixture, soda, what we are drinking, soda water. It is gases already dissolved in water. Example. Solid gas mixture, solid gas, that is smoke, is a specific example. Next, let me go to the next. Heterogeneous mixture. Solid mixture, a specific example, sugar and common salt. If you mix sugar and common salt, you can mix, but we can be able to differentiate whether it is sugar or common salt. It is heterogeneous. Solid liquid mixture, specific example, you can keep ice, solid cube ice on the water. So we can easily differentiate water, liquid and ice cube. It is the heterogeneous mixture. Liquid, again specifically, we have to use two different. Here I am using mixture, solid and liquid, specific example I have given. Liquid mixture, chloroform and water is again heterogeneous. I have already pointed out, take a measuring jar, add 10 ml of water, 10 ml of chloroform, you can see carbon tetrachloride will be at the bottom, water at the top, because what is the low density, it will float over carbon tetrachloride. An example of heterogeneous. So finally, gaseous mixture, smoke in air is an example of heterogeneous. Now, I can classify mixture based on number of components. Based on the number of components, I can classify. It may be a binary mixture, it may be a ternary mixture, it may be a quaternary mixture. Okay, let me explain then if, to understand this one. Suppose some friends are coming to your house. In your house you have nothing except one or two lemon. So what you will do immediately? So you will take and crush lemon juice, then add excess of water, and that is, then if it is necessary, add some amount of sugar, then little salt, and you can mix. Now let me explain this specific example, that is binary mixture, ternary mixture and quaternary mixture. Let me explain this fact. So that is, let me consider. You take now a mixture, suppose I am taking water, let us assume now we are taking 100 ml of water. That is number one, component number one. Then, so if we get 3 or 4 percent, so let me use 1,000 number, 1 liter. 1 liter of water, let me call it as. Number 2, I will take now 1 gram of, let me say sodium chloride I am dissolving. 3, 1 gram of sugar, sucrose, let me call it as. And then 4th one, lemon juice, lemon juice you can take. So there are 4 components present. So if it is water is the one component, sodium chloride another component, sugar third component, lemon juice here, even though it's a mix containing so many things, we'll assume now it is a one component one. So 4 components present. Suppose only lemon juice and water, I will call it as binary. And to that if I add sugar, it is called ternary mixture. And to the same thing, if I add 1 gram of again, then sugar, I will call it the sodium chloride, I will call it a quaternary. Let me repeat again. Only water, single. So mixer means water and lemon juice, binary, plus sugar, ternary, plus sodium chloride, quaternary mixer. I hope you'll be having a clear idea. Let me go for next. How to separate this mixer? This is somewhat interesting information you must know. Everything we'll be studying there. Everything we are going to study under the purification of organic compound chapter. But this is, I am giving an idea. When I say mixer means what is that? So solid mixer heterogeneous. If it is a solid mixer, if it is heterogeneous, you can use crystallization, you can use to separate. Fractional crystallization, second technique we can use. Sublimation we can use for solids. Sublimation under reduced pressure, another technique we can use to separate the mixer. Solvent extraction we can use for separate from mixer, solid mixer, heterogeneous. And finally, chromatographic techniques we can use. Under the chromatographic techniques, column chromatography, thin layer chromatography, paper chromatography we can use to separate the mixer. Next. If it is a liquid mixer and if it is a homogeneous, what are the methods we can use to separate the mixer? So distillation we can use. Next one, fractional distillation we can use. If two liquids are very near our boiling point, like benzene and toluene, we can use this fractional distillation. Distillation under reduced pressure we can use to separate the mixer. And steam distillation we can use to separate the mixer. Solvent extraction and chromatographic technique, common both for solids and liquid, also can be applied to separate the mixer. Next one. Separate some mixer here. Liquid mixer, heterogeneous. If it is an heterogeneous mixer, how to separate? I already pointed out just a few minutes before I was discussing. That is chloroform and water or carbon tetrachloride and water if mixed. It is not miscible. We can get 2 layers. So in that case, we can use a separating funnel is an instrument can be used to separate the mixer. The shape will be approximate. Let me draw now the shape. Just see, it will be like this. So here, this is the instrument. We are using a separating funnel. So if you add 2 liquids, one liquid will be at the bottom, another liquid will be at the top. So you can easily open and collect lower layer first and then higher layer. Then we can, this is called the separating funnel. So we can separate this mixer, liquid mixer, if it is heterogeneous, we can. The next one. Method, that is separate some mixer in the case of homogeneous. So in the case of homogeneous solid liquid mixer, what are the methods suitable to separate the mixer? Distillation, steam distillation, solvent extraction, chromatographic techniques. Actually, you are asking so many questions. That is one, that is Muhammad B. What is the difference between sublimation and sublimation reduced pressure? See, if I explain here, that my purpose will not be served. So this will be here. I am going to discuss under the purification techniques, and then you wait until this. Then I will explain what is sublimation under reduced pressure. So here, solid liquid mixer homogeneous. So distillation, steam distillation, solvent extraction, and chromatographic technique can be used to separate the mixer. Next one. Methods of separation of mixer. Again, solid liquid mixer if it is heterogeneous. Simple. Decantation. Suppose then that is there is a solid without soluble in liquid means simply you can transfer the liquid alone in another vessel. That is called decantation. Filtration. If it is even a single drop of crystal, it is a single crystal. It's not, you do not want to come out. So you can filter through filter paper. It is called filtration. So we can use decantation and filtration. We can use commonly for solid liquid mixer heterogeneous. If it is heterogeneous. And finally, I am coming in the last one. I am standing in, that is the last minute. Methods of separation mixer. If it is a gaseous mixer, diffusion is the most important technique commonly used here to separate the mixer. Okay, I hope I have explained. Let me recollect what I have discussed so far. That is, matter can be classified basically by 2 ways. Physically, we can classify solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and Bose-Einstein condensate. Chemically, matter can be classified in two ways. One is substances, another is mixture. Substances can be classified into elements and compound. Element can be further classified into atom and molecules. And I have discussed each and every cases. What are elements? What are the way we can classify? Then I have discussed what are the compounds? What are the way compound can be classified? Then I have discussed what is the mixture? What are the characteristic properties? What are the way we have to classify the mixture? So this is the first fundamental class. I hope you have enjoyed. So now, tomorrow, the next class, I will be covering laws, that is, laws of chemical combination, the most important chapter. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed. Thank you very much.